Hello and thanks for joining this Oneserve Talk podcast. My name's Stuart and I'm joined today by Oneserve Chief Executive, Chris Proctor. As we reflect on the extraordinary events of the last 12 months, we thought it would be timely to look forward and discuss what could lie ahead for the social housing sector in 2023. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Stuart.
Chris, perhaps before we start looking in the crystal ball for the next year, it's worth a recap of the last 12 months. And what a 12 months it's been. We've lost our monarch, had 3 prime ministers, the threat of nuclear war has re-emerged, and the UK economy nearly collapsed. Oh, and we've actually finally come out of the pandemic. Now, no one could have predicted that 12 months ago, so let's start with what we know. Chris, just sum up the challenges that the social housing sector currently faces.
Well, yeah. I mean, first and foremost, I think whoever opened Jumanji needs to stop and give us a chance to catch up.
Put the lid back on that box.
Yeah. I mean, I joke, but at times I think it's probably generally felt like that. You know, words like unprecedented are often bandied about far too often, but the last 2 years have been nothing but unprecedented. And unfortunately, I don't think we're quite finished yet. And I think when you look at the housing sector, especially, you know, there's an awful lot of challenges that will be coming up that are both known and unknown. We take a second and just look at what's on their to-do list right now. You've got the fire safety assessments and all the remedial work that's going to come with that. We've got the changes required by phase 2 of the Building Safety Act that are supposed to be delivered by April. You've got phase 3, which is supposed to be delivered by the end of this year. You know, the complexities of those things alone are difficult to overstate. You've got any immediate requirements that are going to come under the Social Housing Regulation Bill, which is due to reach royal assent this year. You've got the damp assessments and remediation work. And they're still trying to catch up with the COVID work, all the outstanding work. At the same time, there's a massive fall in the housing market, and they're trying to get their heads around what that's going to mean to their finances and their viability as new house building, which a lot of them have relied on, start to fall and stagnate. There's the borrowing costs. You know, a lot of these guys have got interest costs. What options are going to have if the interest rates keep going up? What additional support they're going to have to provide to their residents who are struggling through the cost of living? And then, of course, there's all the uncertainty that's been left as a hangover from the political uncertainty of the last 12 months. It wasn't that long ago the government went out with a consultation around the EPC certificates. As it stands at the moment, there's still an expectation that all rental properties are going to have to be EPC C grade by 2025. And again, into this, you still have the big challenge, which is the people. You know, a recent study suggested that nearly 22% of the British age working adults are still out of work and not looking for work. That's a growing and staggering problem. It impacts every single aspect of the social housing environment and their operations. But when you consider the working age of operatives, the demographic profile, they're typically male, they're typically late 40s, 50s, 60s, disproportionately being impacted by that. So the social housing sector has got a massive, massive challenge on its hands. And I think the next 12 months, the next 24 months and beyond are going to be really challenging, and they're going to have a lot of work to do to get to where they need to be.
You really wouldn't want a job as a CEO of a housing association at the moment. So extraordinary challenges, and you've sort of run through them there. We've also seen a raft of housing associations in recent months downgraded by the regulator, the cap on rent increases, and of course the tragic case of the 2-year-old who died as a result of mould in the social housing he lived in. So you've talked about the next 12 to 24 months. Do you think there'll be major changes to the sector as it reacts to some of these challenges?
Frankly, it has to. Whether we'll see them or not is a different matter. But I think we're at the point now where scrutiny and pressure and the challenges mean that the sector absolutely has to change. It is creaking. It is on the back foot. It has a truly unique set of really tough challenges. But as I said, it is on the back foot. You know, it's playing catch up to changes that have been demanded by the public, by Parliament, by the press. And there are things happening in the housing sector right now that we can agree on are not right. One of the solutions we have seen is that there seems to have been a surge in mergers over the last 12 months. And I've not seen anything that says we're not going to see that continue. But the sector does a remarkable job. You know, at its core, there's a lot of good people doing good things. And I think it's just about getting back to those basics and making sure the residents have what they need most. And consistently, the residents want a good home, they want it in good order, and they want it for a good price. But I think the housing sector needs to not so much focus on doing what they do better, but to reimagine and reconsider how they achieve those outcomes. It's taking a customer-centric look an approach to compliance. It's taking the compliance that doesn't say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tick some boxes to make sure that my job's done. It's the customer-centric compliance that says, nobody's going to die on my watch because I didn't do my job. That's a really important change that can be made and they can do. The leveraging of technology, obviously I'm going to be biased on this, but I think they really can leverage technology and embrace technology, which are two different things. All too frequently we see people use technology, but we see them use technology to do what their old thing did, just in a slightly more modern way. There has to be this embracement of moving away from legacy systems or moving away from Excel and focusing on the outcome they want to achieve, not necessarily how they've achieved it in the past. They fundamentally have to change. There's so many challenges that they will not be able to do what they need to do if they persist on doing it in the way that they've currently done it. Whether they achieve it or not in the next 12 months is yet to be seen. But I think we're at a point now where an absolute change is required.
So I guess what you're saying, Chris, it's a bit of a year for a blank piece of paper, and let's sit down, work out, well, we know what the objectives are. What do we need to do in the ideal world? How could we achieve this? And what do we need to achieve it?
Yeah, I genuinely think it is. I think you can look at this and say, well, we've got all this to do and now we've got this to do. And I suppose the argument is, well, you don't have all this to do plus your day job. This is now your day job. You don't see the two as separate. They are one and the same thing. The argument I always use is an operational compliance approach versus a customer-centric compliance approach. You can take the same things and you can end up with fundamentally different outcomes by focusing on the outcome that you want to achieve and saying, well, look, one is you just walk through and go, yeah, that fire door's there. Yes, that fire lighting works. The second is you take an approach that says, no one's going to die on my watch because I didn't do my job properly. And therefore you probably look and you open your eyes and you go, right, well, actually, that fire door is there, but I can see that it looks like it keeps being jammed open or keeps being jammed shut. So I'm going to find out why. Or that emergency light looks like it's working, but actually, even though it's on, I still can't see X or Y or Z. So I'm going to deal with that. And it's that kind of approach that then stops some of the other problems happening, because as much as technology can do, it can't take away that human interface. And at the moment, that's the really valuable part on that, is people really caring about what they're doing and how they make sure they look after people. And our job as technologists is to make sure we can give those people the efficiency and the time to do that job properly.
So just to finish on a positive, Chris, there are certainly opportunities and ways to meet this raft of challenges the social housing sector is facing. I'm guessing it'd be useful if we could catch up again in another 6 months' time to look and see how things are progressing. I suspect there may be a few more challenges, or these existing challenges will have developed further. So that really wraps up our podcast, Chris. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be back discussing with Chris the big challenges facing the social housing sector. So keep an eye on our social media channels, and thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.